What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining me today for another edition of the 1004 Show. It's episode 102. Now, this episode was probably the hardest interview of my life. I interviewed Cornelia Jude, who is the author of Mended Faith, and Chris Jones, a previous guest on the show, is her co-author for this book, Mended Faith, and he reached out and said, "Hey, I think Connie would be a great interview." And so I did a little bit of research, and of course I said yes. And this is a graphic interview, so we're gonna deep dive into exactly what happened. I'll let Connie do all of that, but it is something that it was difficult for me. I don't know if you guys can tell in this, but I'm holding back tears in a lot of this. She's gone through something completely crazy, something that none of us would ever want to go through, and is actually taking that negative and turning it into a positive one. And it's just something that it's crazy when you guys hear this. You're gonna want to listen to the entire thing. And I'm so grateful for Connie to come out, not only to write the book, but then to talk to me and to hear kind of a different story than normally here on the 1004 Show. But, tragedy and really bad things happen every day. And she's been one that has taken that negative and turned into a positive. And I'm super appreciative of her having the courage to get out and tell her story, and I think you guys are going to like this one. So a lot of you guys have been asking me about websites, right? Many of you guys know that I've worked with thousands of startups, early stage businesses, small businesses, mature businesses, and one of the biggest questions I'm getting right now is, I need a graphic designer, I need a website, but I don't know who to turn to. So they come to me because they want me to do it. Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm performing and creating wonderful interviews just like this. But here's the answer. The answer is ARC4. ARCPHOR. ARC4. Like me, ARC4 is a company that's worked with hundreds of businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups, and they get it and know how to take care of y'all, their clients. They aren't in the business of selling you things that aren't needed. Instead, they are in the business of making you look great and providing you with the tools that you need to generate revenue and sales for the long haul. Because ultimately, that's why many of us do this, right? To make money, generate sales. It's important. It's who I trust to manage my websites, and guess what? I think you should too. So if you're looking for a graphic designer or web development, ARC4 is the place to turn. Head on over to arc4.com. We'll have all of this in the notes below. And use Zach, Z-A-C-K. If you use Z-A-C-H, you're going to pay them more. But if you use the right promo code Z-A-C-K, you're going to get 10% off your service. Just mention me, Z-A-C-K. All right. Check them out. Really solid stuff there. So Connie, I've been... This has been hard to even figure out what I'm going to say in this intro, because this interview, I remember being done with it, and I even texted Chris or messaged Chris, and I was like, wow, I was not expecting it to be that emotional, and it was. And I think you guys are just going to be blown away with how someone could go through something so negative and turn it into something so positive. So thank you guys for being with me today. Episode 102, the author of Mended Faith, Connie Jude. What does living mean to you?
Living means everything to me.
I know that.
Yeah, it's for so long not living, and now living is everything.
I know that you went through something very tragic. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of what happened?
My mom's ex-boyfriend, he sexually abused me for Yeah, a course of it was over 10 years. And yeah, it was really rough. That's kind of when my life kind of ended.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 12.
Wow. And when it first happened, what were some of the emotions that were going through your mind?
I was paralyzed. I was absolutely paralyzed. I have to tell you, I was the first time I was sexually abused. I was 4, but I didn't really like remember too much of that until it happened when I was 12. And then all that came back and I was completely paralyzed. I was really sick that day and I had asthma and I had a fever and he was taking care of me. And I'm sorry. It was that my mom had instructed him to rub me down with wicks and that kind of stuff. And that's when he started taking advantage of me. And it went from there. And that's how I was stuck. Like, I didn't know what to do.
And so paralyzed, I think that's such a powerful word. So you're paralyzed at 12, and you're a little over 40 now, correct?
Yes.
So at what point did you tell someone the first time?
The first time I really told someone was when I was like 25. I tried numerous times before, and I have to tell you that it was always like, I mean, I was a troubled teenager, and nobody was gonna believe me. When I was 25, I lived here in the U.S. All this happened in Germany, and then I lived here in the U.S. and my mom called me and said they're gonna come visit her and him, and that's when absolute panic set in for me because I was safe, right? I was like, I'm safe. I'm never going to be in that house again. And it was, okay, we're coming to visit. And that's when panic absolutely set in. And
Wow. So you have this insanely traumatic situation. You've been wanting to tell someone for a long time. Why do you just said no one would believe you? Why do you believe, or what was the mind trash with that so that you couldn't believe that someone wouldn't believe you?
well, the thing is that he was very smart. He's a very, very, very smart man. And of course, I didn't see this back then, but, he lived with me and my mom. And he will, set things up to where I get in trouble, even though, I wasn't responsible for the situation. So I was already, my mom never believed me over whatever he was saying. And that was, I was like, how is she going to believe this? And then after I didn't tell for a while, I was so scared too. Like, is she going to think that I did this? Did I ask for this,
So how did you finally come out? How did you finally decide to tell her, or who did you tell first, I guess?
Oh, it was really crazy. I went to see a behavioral therapist it was at Edwards Air Force Base. Once I found out that they were coming, I had crazy panic attacks to the point where this one time I was at the store with my kids and I started freaking out so bad that I came back to myself while I'm parked in the car in the garage, and I had no idea how I got there. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to go see somebody. And my intention was not to go and say, hey, this is what happened. I need help. I was just like, I need some meds. I need something to to fix me. And for the first time ever, they gave me a questionnaire. You go to a doctor, you have to fill out all this paperwork. And I seen this paperwork so many times. And that was the day when I checked I have been abused. And that was the first time I ever said, okay, yes, this happened. And then I saw that therapist, and it went really crazy from right there, because he started talking to me and he said, they can absolutely not come here. This cannot happen. They can't come here. You can't. So I actually worked with this therapist for a little while, and I was able to tell him a little bit. I was still not able to talk about the details or anything like that. And I said, I need him to come here, because this is my only shot that I will have in life to confront him. I knew if I do this in Germany, I knew that I wouldn't be safe there, because I felt like if I go and I say something there, they're probably going to have me admitted to a mental hospital or anything like that, because, I cut myself all the time. I did drugs. I did the alcohol. I did the whole pack. So they started working with me for that moment that they will arrive. And it was really hard for me, because then my mom was there and I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to, so you're trying to protect your mom. So I was dragging this out
because
as long as
because
possible.
It's her boyfriend, right? It's her boyfriend of a long time. She has no idea.
Yes. And she loves him.
Sure.
She loved him like crazy. Like, he treated her pretty badly, and she always took it. So, what do you do? So every day I went to therapy while they were there, and I talked to my therapist, and they were so amazing trying to prepare me for that moment. And I have to tell you, I don't think anything ever can prepare you for that moment, really, because it went way different than what we had in mind. And so the moment came where he was trying to manipulate me. And we were sitting there, and I was holding a phone book because they wanted me to look something up. And he was just coming at me like he used to, and he's like, well, if you don't, then your mom's going to leave with me right now. And that's when I completely lost it. And I started attacking him, and I was hitting him. And yeah, it went from there. And then I was screaming, and I told him, do you want to tell her, or do you want me to tell her? And it went really bad from there. My ex-husband, he was a cop. He was not allowed to carry a gun while they were with us. I mean, it went that far. And the personal gun that he had, we stored at a friend's house, but I knew where it was. So I had the gun, and I went to the car and I got the gun, and I was just going to kill him. And I was just like, in that moment, I was like, if I kill him, it's just all over. I can do it, and that's it. And my therapist, we had this backup plan that no matter what, before I do anything, I will call. And I called him and I said, I need help right now. I was screaming. I'm sorry. I was screaming. I told him, look, I'm going to do it. And before I knew it, the cops were there, and they removed me from the house, and they took me to the hospital, and they gave me some Valium and kept me there for a while. And when I got back, my mom and him were gone. That's how that all came out. But talking about the details, I did not until the book. So nobody really knows the details other than Chris.
Chris Jones, your co-author?
Yes.
Got it. So you are telling people, you've now told your doctor, and he's helping you a little bit. Your mom and the boyfriend. So you do get it out at that point, right? They know that it's happened, right? Mm-hmm. So then you decide that, okay, I'm I might be putting words into your mouth at this point, but if I can be transparent and help other people get through this, that's something that's going to help me as a coping mechanism as well. Or kind of what's the genesis of figuring out that I need to tell people about this, even though for 10 or 12 years I held it to myself.
Right. The thing is that I always regretted that I didn't say something earlier, right? Because it's going to be bad if you say it when you're 25 or when you're 12. The pain is going to be the same, right? But I can only put it that way, that it's going to get bad, but then it gets better. As long as you keep that and you carry that, and you can't heal. There's no way you can heal.
And so, what type of jobs had you had at this point?
I had pretty good jobs. I did, because my whole life was pretty much a lie. And I just, but I had decent jobs. I was a manager for AFES before. I was a scheduler and coordinator for a retirement home. And it didn't matter what I did, I always advanced really fast. But the thing was that it always caught up with me, So you do something for a year and you seem to be doing good and you seem to be doing fine. But then you're going to have that moment where you crash again.
What kept you said everything would catch up to you. What did the
whole situation?
Got it.
Because you're going to try to live your life like this never happened,
So you continue to try and basically live a lie, and then until you started recognizing that, hey, I need to tell people, I need to get this out, and it really didn't change until then?
It didn't.
So what was the medium of choice to start? Like, how did you start getting your story out there?
It was really it's just a really amazing story for me, because that's when it changed. When we came here to Virginia, every day I go to work and I have my routine, and I pass this church every day on my way to work. And I just have that feeling. I need to go into this church. I just need to go in there. And I wasn't raised in church. I didn't know anything really about church or the Bible, anything like that. And I had that feeling that I need to go in there. And I came home and I told my husband, I feel like I need to go try this church,
Had you ever been to a church before?
I have been inside of a church before.
Okay.
I went for my husband, for my kids, whatever. But it was like I had every excuse that I could have made. Like, no, they're hypocrites. I'm not going in there. What is this going to do for me? So it was really strange for me that I felt like I need to go in there. And we went to this church, and that's when my life completely changed. I mean, the first few months that we went, I was still drinking. I would be out until like 6 a.m. And then I'm completely still drunk or hungover, and I'm going to church. And about 3 months after we started going to church, we came home from this midweek service, and my husband, he said to me, look, I can feel it. It's like every time you go out, which was normal for me. My weekend started Friday, I'd be out until Sunday, that kind of stuff. And he said, it seems like that every time you do that, that's when the flashbacks are really bad. That's when your depression is bad. That's when you don't want to get out of bed. And he said to me, how about just for 3 months, you give up the drinking and no bars, no clubs. And I sat there and I said, okay. And I was like, well, did I just agree to this? Like, no, there's no way I just agreed to that. But I did. And it was really, really like, for the first couple of days, it was rough. And after that, I made an appointment with my pastors because I was like, I don't want to go back to therapy. I've been to so many therapists, like the hours. I mean, it was crazy. And I was like, I don't want to go back again and explain everything again. I need to talk to somebody. And so we went and talked to our pastors. And I was super upset. I was really, really mad. And after that, I just relied on God to get me out of bed. And I will just pray the second I want to drink, which is really crazy because March 25th will be 2 years that I had a drink. So it's almost been 2 years. And I'm like, even thinking about a drink, like it gives me instant hangover. It's the craziest thing. Like,
what do you think the alcohol was to you in that scenario? Like what, because your husband would say, when you drink, this is when you have the flashbacks, this is when the depression gets bad, but you were using that alcohol as something to cope, right? And so,
yes,
like it seems counterintuitive, right? So like, I'm doing this to cope, yet it makes it even worse.
It did. I mean, I was always like, it helped me because I was really, this insecure, right? Because you're always scared somebody's going to see through you one day. Somebody's going to just see that, you're not just funny, right? And so it was always like I drank just to make myself feel better. And then I go out and I'll be good for a few hours, but then I go home. And that's when I get super depressed and I feel so bad about being out. I'm married, I have children, and I want to do the right thing, but I just didn't know how to do the right thing.
When did a book come into play? When did a book become this idea?
That was, we were talking to our pastors, and my pastor, he was like, Connie, good will come from this. And I said, nothing good could ever come from this. Never. And he said, I can feel that you're strong. You can do this. And I feel like you can help people. And because they saw, the progress that I was getting a little better and that I was working hard, The thing is, you have to want to heal. If you don't want to heal, you're not going to heal. And that was exactly what I wanted to do, was heal. And I was going to do everything that I can. So we came home. And then a few weeks later, I was like, maybe I need to tell my story, right? And I started talking to people about it, that I should just really speak up. I mean, because I wish that there would have been somebody that would have said, you got this, you can do it. You're not alone, So then I was like, maybe a book, which sounded completely ridiculous because my English is okay, but I mean, it's not my first language. And I was like, I can't write a book like the whole grammar and all of that. So I thought, okay, maybe I can find somebody to help me with this book. And then I started asking around on Facebook. And that's how I met Chris. And then we were like, let's do this.
And Chris was a previous guest. He obviously helped you very much so in this whole process. So why is a book the vehicle to fix this? Why is the book something that can help you tell a story to help you cope and mend?
The book for me was the most healing thing that I have done. I mean, of course, I was prayed through this book by friends, family, Chris, but it was the most healing thing. It is, you're writing it down, It's like, and I have to tell you, it was hard for me to write it down and then read it and then read it out loud. Like, it became more real, but I had those steps that I was able to take. It was really absolutely therapeutic. And this learned me, like I always say, the therapists, they help me to keep my head above water. But this helped me. This taught me how to swim.
Is it self-published? Is there a publisher?
I have a publisher.
Okay. And the book is called Mended Faith.
Yes.
Who's the publisher?
It's Morgan James.
Got it. So Mended Faith is what? What do you call Mended Faith to you?
I call Mended Faith. The whole mending is so important in the faith. For me, of course, is, the faith that I have in Jesus now, but the faith in myself, the faith in life, the faith in love, and that, that yes, we can learn how to trust again. It's all combined in that mended faith.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, wow. We had a timeline of 12 months.
Okay.
And it really took us from start to now. It's been 26 months.
So the book's been out for about 14 months, if my math is right?
The book is not published yet.
Okay.
We are going to publish in May 1st.
Okay.
It's going to be the ebook on Amazon and all those good places. But in spring, next month, sometime, the book will be available through our website. And we're definitely super excited about that. It's scary, but I'm super excited.
What was the process of getting the publisher?
It was, working the manuscript, talking, telling them my story and how important this is for me to reach people and to make a difference. It's so important that you have somebody that supports you through that process. And of course, Chris helped me a lot with that.
What were some of the challenges that you went through with the book writing that you were able to get through because of the help of someone like a Chris?
Oh, it was Chris. Chris definitely prayed me through this, like I said earlier. But it was that I knew that something good will come from that, and it has to be done. And I made it my goal that I want to help. I want to help people to see that there's so much more to life. That yes, there can be a change.
If someone is watching this and you have 10 seconds to pitch them as to why they should read the book or follow you, what is your pitch to them?
That I want to encourage them to just read the book, to see how powerful we all are. We have this story. Everybody has this story. And it doesn't matter how scary it is. Everything happens for a reason, and there's good. Something good comes from everything.
I love that quote. Everything happens for a reason. That's one of my favorites. I probably live by it. What does that mean to you?
It means to me that even in those darkest moments when we feel like nothing, like I thought nothing could ever come from this, nothing good. But I now see this all as a blessing. And I feel like, okay, so I went through it because God knew that I'm going to be strong enough to go through it and to help other people.
So a lot of people would call that word that you just used, a blessing, a wild word to be using. We've been talking for, I don't know, almost a half an hour now. You went through this insanely traumatic scenario. When talking with your pastor, you said that nothing good could ever come out of it. And now, 26 or so months later, you're now saying it's a blessing?
It is a blessing. And because my relationship, I don't think I would be the person that I am today. I don't think that I could have the impact that I have And I just feel like it is a blessing because everybody, if I just help one person that gains life from this, I did my job. Like, that is just a blessing to me.
With the book, is it, and I have not read it yet, so is it geared towards your scenario and how you got through it, or does it have to be about that kind of scenario, that someone was sexually abused, or could it be about the alcohol, the drugs, and everything?
Yes, it could be about everything. It's just really about everything. I mean, to different people, different things are traumatic, right? And it could be losing somebody, a loved one, or just so many things that affect us. And you can just find good in everything, no matter what you go through.
Yeah, I often find that communicating with people can be a very powerful vehicle, and using a book like this obviously is something for you. We know a lot about you now. What's something...
It was very important to me that I take responsibility too. In this book, I'm taking a lot of responsibility. I did a lot of things wrong in my life. And I'm not blaming, just that everything that happened to me. It could have went different, but it didn't. But I wanted to take responsibility for the things that I did wrong. I mean, I treated my husband terribly. I tried to be the best mom that I could. Would I do that different? Oh, definitely so different. And I just really want people to, it was one of my big goals for my kids to see. I mean, they experienced a lot of craziness with me, but they're now seeing, something, yes, this is what was, but we can overcome this. It's very important for me too that people will see, with me trying to always act like everything was okay and I wasn't okay. It was, my family, even if they wanted to help me, they couldn't help me. There was just no way. Like my husband, he will say, why are you thinking about that stuff? Just don't think about it. That will, it would drive me crazy when he would say that. And then I would completely shut down. And I was like, why would I ever want to talk to somebody about this? Why? Because they're not going to get it, But then once I started opening up, it changed everything for my husband too. He then took the time to listen to me,
What have you learned from a communication standpoint, where oftentimes with relationships or anything crazy that's going on, how communicating or telling someone is a real big help with that? How have you learned to communicate better through this whole process?
First of all, me stop lying helped a lot, right? That was so important. And to tell people, look, I'm not doing too good right now, and they will respect that. Me being transparent and telling them how I feel, that's when they can support me. If they don't know, they can't help me. It's just like I always thought that, my husband should understand me. He should understand me. You cannot understand. And it was really important for me to understand that, that he cannot know what a flashback feels like unless I explain that to him.
What is Connie Jude the best in the world at?
I am really good at probably making people laugh. I will in the craziest moments and somebody's really upset and then something just comes to me and I make people laugh. But I think that's again from that coping mechanism that I had, from the past, that we try to make everything funny. So
with the book coming out soon, what are you doing to market it? How do you start promoting yourself and the story and what people can be learning?
Like now, podcasts, public speaking, radio, the thing is that I learned that you have to step out. You have to leave your comfort zone. You have to get out of that bubble. If you have a message that you want to share, yeah, it's time to step out. So I'm contacting people that maybe a few months ago I was feeling like, I can't contact that person. They're going to think I'm crazy. And now I'm like, okay, you need to get out of your way. Because we are always in our own way in some way, right? It's all those doubts and stuff. It's like, no.
Well, in some cases, you have people promoting you yourself. So Chris obviously told me that I should talk to you, and that's how you got here. So I'm super thankful for that. So being transparent is really what all this is about. It's saying, you know what, like, I've gone through something that was miserable for me for a very long time, and now I'm telling that story. Are there things that you haven't told people yet?
It's pretty much all in the book. Of course, I could probably write a few more books to get everything out in detail, like super detailed. But I am being as transparent as I was able to do, to, you know, in a healthy way for me and my family, for my husband and my children.
When you think about the distribution of the book and getting out there, do you have like a goal of how many people you want to buy it?
I want a lot of people to buy it.
What's a lot?
Do I have a number? Do I have a number? I don't have a number.
So do you and Morgan James have like do you have ideas of what the goal is? Do you guys talk about stuff like that? How does that whole process work?
We did, and we are, I mean, they blow my mind because they say all of this stuff, you know, and I'm not like this professional person. So I'm like, what? Like, they're like, oh, bestseller, end caps. I said, what is an end cap? I don't even know what that means, you know? So, you know, that would be so amazing. Like, it will be mind blowing. For me, it's more important to like be with people and say, look, I got you. We got this. We can do this together.
They often say that a book is not a place, or is not the vehicle to make money on it. How do you make money outside of the book, or how do you expect to make money outside of the book?
Probably lots of public speaking. And then it's kind of so weird with me, and I don't even know if that's a good thing to say right now, but the book has never been financially motivated. So whatever will be a blessing, let me put it that way, but the book has not been a financial motivation for me or my family.
Sure. What do you do for work now?
I am I work with oils. I work with essential oils.
Okay.
Look, I get all excited. You ask me.
I mean, that's the first time I've seen you excited. It only took 34 minutes.
I am the crazy oil lady. You know how people always say there's this crazy oil lady. I'm that person.
What does the crazy oil lady do?
The crazy oil lady is just talking about oils all day long because we live the oils in this house. Like, everything is treated with oils in this house, right? We cook with it, we clean with it, we do everything with the oils. The oils have been a huge part of my healing. So it was God, and the oils came with it, and it was just... yeah, that's what I do for work.
So God is a big oil fan, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes. God gave us all of this stuff, and he's like, use this, right?
Yeah. If someone is listening and is feeling a similar traumatic scenario that they've gone through and they don't know where to start, what would you encourage them to do?
The first thing is to admit it to ourselves. Like, I tried to lock this all so far away and tell myself, okay, it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And that's just your brain trying to protect you from it. You have to unlock it. You have to unlock it. You need to write. I started writing, journals, that kind of stuff. And what I would do is I would take time in a safe place, and I will have different songs that take me back there just to unlock, and I set a time limit to allow myself to unlock some of those memories and process them, but have this time limit to bring myself back to the safe place.
How close were you to actually killing him?
I was very close to killing him. I was very, very close to killing him. And I am so blessed, and I'm so thankful that even though I didn't know God back then, but he already had my back then, Now it's just so crazy for me to look back at all those times when things were so crazy and so chaotic that I now look back and I'm like, wow, he's been there all this time.
Do you talk to your mom?
I do talk to my mom. We have a really amazing relationship now. My mom and I didn't speak after they left for about a year. And I called her, and she told me that she believes me and that she sits outside all the time crying. And she moved out. And it was still, kind of hard, but we were able to heal together after that.
That year when you don't have your mom after you finally told her.
Right.
That sounds like it might have been even the hardest thing.
It was. It was. Because as victims, a lot of times we feel like we have to prove something, right? But that proving something would definitely rob you of life. I'm sorry.
So knowing that you and your mom are okay now, what are kind of the conversations? Do you go back to this a lot? Do you not talk about it anymore?
Oh, we talk about it, and we talked about it a lot during the time that me and Chris were writing the book, because there was so many details, that came back to me that I, asked her about, and she's like, oh, wow, it really was that way. And then she starts talking about more stuff, because there was so many signs that she didn't see, so many days that I could tell her, do you remember that day? This is what happened that day. It was very, very hard because she always felt like, she felt like I didn't see it. I was not able to protect you, my mom. And I think she still struggles because she's always been a hard worker. She's always worked hard in her life. So when she was home, she slept, and it happened right there, I'm in the other room and he comes to my room and she's asleep. And I think she still struggles with that. She works overnights, and I really truly believe that she works overnights because she just does not want to sleep at night.
So you, from a coping mechanism standpoint, you did drugs, alcohol, you cut yourself. I mean, so are all those things of suicide that you think? I mean, is that stuff that you thought about a lot?
I did, but no, I didn't. Cutting was that's really hard for me to even explain, because that felt so good for me. Cutting was how I just really channeled. That's where I channeled all of my anger. Where I channeled my stress, And I mean, I took pills to try to kill myself. I took my grandma's Valium and I mixed it with a lot of alcohol and all that good stuff. But I always had that razor blade with me, and I was always cutting, but that was never a thing that would have ever crossed my mind to try to kill myself with my razor blade. Because
have you seen the show 13 Reasons Why?
I have not.
Okay. So, spoiler alert, I guess, is it's a story about a girl And they would tell you this in like the first 5 minutes. So it's about a girl who does kill herself. And one of the things that happens is she is raped by a guy in school. And a lot of attention went towards it for the good. A lot of attention went to it for the bad. People saying this is glorifying suicide. It's giving people this option to do it. When people hear, even though they're being so transparent about it and they're throwing stuff out. So when you hear people talk about glorifying, a subject like yours and saying, we're making this an option for people now to do it. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
On suicide?
On suicide or not telling the stories or...
Okay. I have people, of course. I have a lot of people that reach out to me and, they tell me that, that I encourage them and I help them. But I do, of course, have people that send me messages that say, you should never talk about that. This needs to go to your grave. Why are we talking about this? But I feel like you're going to take it to your grave, but you're never going to live if you don't let go of it. You're not going to have a chance of a life.
Yeah, I think it's so important to get things out, right? And whether it's being transparent with the world through a book or a show like this, or you just calling a friend and saying, "Hey, this is what went on. I need to tell someone," or your counselor, whatever it is. I often think that when people use that word glorified for whatever it is, it's people need this mechanism to get out, and whether it's helping you or someone else. I mean, I think it's so important. What about him now? Where is he? Like,
he still lives in Germany. I haven't seen him in a very long time.
Did he go to jail or anything? Or
he did not go to jail. I did not press charges. And I didn't press charges. Of course, I'm 25. I live in the U.S. And then I knew that if I go to court in Germany, I knew they have to call in my family. And they were all of them, except my dad, will have to sit there and say, yeah, I didn't believe her. I just did not think, I had children then, and I did not think that I was going to be strong enough to do that. With that, forgiveness is absolute key for that. It took a lot for me to forgive, but I pray for him that he will find life. I feel like I was able to, and let's see, that's the only way I know how to explain that is I've never been in a deeper relationship before this guy from the time I was 12 until about 2.5 years ago. He occupied my mind at all times. He was in my dreams. He was in the wind. He was in other people's smiles. He was in other people's smells. He was always there. And I knew that I have to forgive if I want this to end. It was my pastor, he put that really, really awesome. Forgiveness is, or if you can't forgive, right? It's like you set yourself on fire and hope the other person dies on a smoke inhalation. And that's really what it is. And the more I work through my issues, and I chose to forgive, which was not easy. It was so hard. I was so upset with the church. I was so upset with my pastor because I was like, are you telling me right now I'm going to hell because I can't forgive this guy? I was so upset. I was like, do you understand what he did? He robbed my life. He robbed my children's life. You want me to forgive? It took so many times of prayer and just understanding the fact that my life cannot start over until I forgive. And every day, all day, I said, I choose to forgive. God, I'm giving this to you because I can't do it. But I want life. And it was hard. And am I still upset? Yes, I'm still upset all the time. And that's my right. But I forgave him for what he did, right? Because something good came from it. Like, this is the good that's coming from it. And I just truly feel like if we don't do that, you're not going to live. You can't live. So.
What makes you happy?
My children and my grandchildren and my husband and music and my family, my mom, my brother, and my dad. We have a really good connection right now, which is so amazing. All the things that I kind of didn't see before, that just all makes me super happy.
What's next?
What's next? I'm thinking maybe another book. And I kind of just go with the flow, and it's like wherever God tells me to go, it's like, okay, God says jump, and I say how high right now, right? So we have a lot of things. You know, we were talking about reality TV for a minute, which is, you know, a kind of a scary thought, but I mean, with this family and whatever we have going on within our family and what we went through as a whole family, I mean, it covers everything. It really does. If that's the drugs, the alcohol, the crazy kids, the multicultural, it's all done in this one house. So we're thinking about that for a little while. And it's still in the back of my mind, but we'll see.
What's something I haven't asked you that a lot of people ask you about?
Oh, wow. A lot of people ask me about Germany and just about, it's always, they're like, oh, you're German? Yes. Do you know how to fix a schnitzel? Yes, I do. I do know how to fix that kind of stuff. They ask me about that, and it always blows my mind how people still ask me about the wall, right? Mm-hmm. And they ask about the Oktoberfest. It's like that traditional American, what kind of beer do you like? The German beers.
Do you think you'll ever go back there?
Do I go back to Germany?
Would you?
I do go back to Germany. I went last year when, we were almost done with writing the book and that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I had this crazy moment where I have this feeling I got to go. I have to go there. I have to go back to Germany. And I thought this feeling was, God telling me, okay, you need to go for your business, because I expanded my business with the oils to Germany. And, so I'm trying to do the Netherlands and Norway and that kind of stuff. So I'm going over there, and I'm thinking it's completely business related. And I went over there, and it was not business related at all. That's when I was able to talk to my brother and my mom and my dad, and we spent amazing days together. And I knew, okay, so this is why we're here. Of course, I was able to do some business, but that was the reason why. And it was the first time that I'm in Germany. I'm not all over the place drinking, because that's what I used to do. I go to Germany and I just get drunk the whole time I'm there. And I did not do that, and it was absolutely amazing. I wanted to go and see my mom's ex, and I wanted to go see him and talk to him, but I wasn't sure if he's ready for that. I know I'm ready for that, but I wasn't sure if he's ready for that. So I didn't. But that is something that one day I would like to do.
So it sounds like you said it, everything happens for a reason, and that trip was important.
Yes, it was very important.